Hello to everyone watching and welcome back. In the previous session, we talked about log and its usage for troubleshooting purposes on RouterOS. We also discussed how the main log window in the system menu does not have a topic related to the ICMP protocol, which is why we need to make a small detour to the firewall filter rules on RouterOS. In this session, we will look at logs as a filter rule in the firewall menu, learn how to read log data, and discuss the forward, output, and input log filter chains. If you remember, we were sending ping and trace packets from the source address of 10.0.0.1 on the trainee router to the destination address of 8.8.8.8 while running torch on the interfaces of the class access point. On the left, you have the trainee router, and on the right, the class AP. You can access the firewall window from the IP menu and the firewall submenu. This is the main firewall window. It is important to remember that at this stage of our MTCNA course, it is too early to talk about firewalls and their configurations, and we only want to scratch the surface and just tell you how to set up a few logging rules as a firewall filter. In the Firewall Rules tab, you can use the +add button to start defining a filter rule. The nature of a firewall is based on two main parts. Basically, a firewall says, if this, then that. The first part is conditions or ifs. In the General tab of the new Firewall Rule window, you have a number of conditions before you. The second basic part of a firewall is actions or thens. By referring to the Actions tab, you can select what action you want to specify for your conditions. Now, let's go ping and trace the global address of 8.8.8.8 from the IP address of 10.0.0.1 on the trainee router and see how log works as a firewall filter. We'll first open the ping and trace route windows on the trainee router, input the address 8.8.8.8 as our destination in both windows, and also add the source of 10.0.0.1 in both source address fields. As previously tried, we start receiving timeouts as we start our ping and trace. Next, we need to set up our log filter rule on the class AP via the firewall menu. In the Filter Rules tab, click on Add and start from the General tab. The very first condition in this tab is chain, which gives you the three options of forward, input, and output. Since the ping and trace packets are being generated by the trainee router and only passing through the class access point en route to the destination of 8.8.8.8, the class AP is only forwarding these packets, and therefore we use the forward chain for this rule. Next, go to the protocol condition, where you have numerous options. Here, as ping and trace packets are based on the ICMP protocol, we choose ICMP. Now, you need to determine your action. To do so, refer to the Action tab and from the Action drop-down menu, choose Log. In case you choose other actions, you can check the underneath box to get their log as well. And finally, you'll need to add in a log prefix that you can personally use to identify and recognize different log entries. Here, we will write F-ICMP, F as in forward. Click OK and you will see that a new forward firewall filter rule has been created. If you wonder where you can see the results, simply click on the log menu. As you can see, the class AP is now logging the transmission of all packets being forwarded to the address 8.8.8.8. Here you have the record number, its time and date, buffer type, and topics. For the message column, let's widen the column and take a closer look. So, we were sending a packet from 10.0.0.1 to 8.8.8.8. At the beginning of the message, you first have rule prefix that is F-ICMP. Then, there is the forward chain. Next, you have the in interface and the out interface of the device on which you have set up the firewall rule, which is the class access point. After these, you have the source MAC address of the device generating the packets, namely the trainee router, and the protocol of the packets. Then, you have the message type and code, and finally, the source and destination IP addresses of the forward packets. This constitutes a typical example of a log entry as a firewall filter rule. So far, we have covered the forward rule chain. Now, let's talk about the output and input chains. For this purpose, let's go back to the class access point. This time, we're going to generate our packets from the class AP itself and again set up new log filters on the class AP. As you can see, the forward filter has recorded a number of packets passing through the class AP. If we start pinging the address 8888 from the IP address of 172.31.252.100 on the class access point, the packets in the forward filter remain the same. Why is that? Because now the packets are being generated by the class access point itself, and therefore, instead of being forwarded packets, they are considered as output packets. And that is why we need a new log filter to monitor these outgoing packets. So for the new filter, we choose the output chain and write O-ICMP as the log prefix. Now we have a new filter, and if we restart the ping, you can see that the new filter starts detecting packets. And in the log results, we start seeing O-ICMP results with the output chain. Now, you can see here that our ping is successful, and we are receiving a response back from the address 8888. This means that the class access point is receiving traffic as well. Therefore, its log should also show this incoming traffic, but it doesn't. That's because these responses are being received and are therefore input traffic. But our log rules on the class access point only cover forwarded and output traffic. Therefore, just like our output rule, we will define an input log filter by adding a new rule, choosing input as the chain and writing I-ICMP as the prefix. As you can see, a third rule is now added. It is detecting incoming responses and input traffic, and now for each output traffic, our log entry is recording an incoming response as well. You can test these log rules by changing the source address of your ping. If you put in the other IP address of the class AP, that is 10.0.0.254, we start receiving timeouts, which means we're not getting a response back. And as you can see, our log entries no longer detect and record any incoming traffic. So the question remains, why is the IP address of 10.0.0.254 on the class access point unable to ping the address of 8888? Stay tuned for the next session where we'll begin to address this issue, and don't forget to leave us your questions in the comments section.